Friends, and welcome to episode number 20 of the $20 Less podcast. We're recording live on July 26, 2015, and I'm your host, JD, aka Gaddock Teeg, and with me today, as always, my co-host, Cosmic Engine. How you doing today, Cosmic?
Alright, I've been ill.
Yeah. You feeling better, though? You doing it right now?
I'll live.
Yeah? Okay. Well, that's good to hear. You'll be doing this podcast for a while, hopefully. So, sick day is usually pretty good for video games. Have you been playing anything, or are you too busy
working still?
Growing up?
Yeah, no, I just work through it.
Yeah.
I've been playing a few games, actually. I play this week. I played Victor Vran, which I said last week. I did a review on that on Friday. That came out on Friday.
Saw that go up.
That's a fun game.
Good. Yeah, it looks cool. You know, Diablo didn't really do it for me this time.
See, that's the thing though. I tend not to like ARPGs, but I like Victor Vran because it's quite fluid and you're always on the move, and it's it's to do with skill rather than like your character build. So it's all about dodging attacks and keeping on the move, and getting behind enemies and moving out the way of all sorts of things. And so it plays really well on a controller, which I like. So I can just sit back and just play. That's
something that definitely more interests me after seeing your video. Is I'm usually not into that kind of game. Played a little bit of Torchlight, a little bit of Diablo here and there, but Victor Vran, maybe I'll try and pick it up.
That's a really good game. It's packed full of humor, which I really like, and it's actually done. The voice, the main character, is voiced by the same guy who does Geralt on the Witcher series.
Yeah, I heard that.
And it's in your face about it. It sounds exactly the same. And he even pulls quotes or kind of hints at the fact that it's Geralt. it's really
that's pretty funny.
It's I think he does one line where he's like, "Oh yeah, I made a mistake hunting a monster once, and that's how I got the scar on my face." It's that's funny. But I think the best thing about that game, apart from the really fast-paced skill-based combat, is that you have a narrator in your head that's not the main character. It's an evil demon. Who basically narrates the entire way through the game, while you're playing. He's kind of got the personality of Handsome Jack from Borderlands 2, where it's
I know how much you like him.
It's really funny. He instead of calling Victor, he calls him Vicky the entire way through. Mm-hmm. And even though you're in a dungeon and you go in the right way, he'll turn around and go, "You're going the wrong way, Vicky. Going the wrong way." And
so what is he? Is he a fairy?
Is he your
internal?
It's just a mysterious voice that you hear, but I don't want to say who he turns out to be and stuff.
All right. So
it's really fun.
Find out.
That's really fun to play with. Going along, and then he just starts talking about what you're doing, and he's like. Mm-hmm. He's "Oh, they, So
did you see improvement in the game over its early access period? I know you did both an early access examination and a review.
They've tightened up a few little bit of aspects. There's not that much different in terms of the core gameplay. I think the biggest addition is obviously the main story. Mm-hmm. And that's something I said in the early access video that I did on it. I was it's going to depend on the story, on how long you're able to play it, because if it's a really bad story, you don't want to continue on for no reason. But the story's actually, it's good in parts, and it's silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's full of humor, which I always like. I like games that make fun of themselves. There's one segment in a secret area in one of the dungeons where you go in and you get the loot, and as soon as you open the loot, skeletons spawn that do the dance from Gangnam Style. And they're basically, their stat is that because they're dancing skeletons, and then they just follow you around doing the dance. And their evasion, because they're doing the dance, their evasion stat is through the roof. So it's really hard to hit them. And it's stuff like that. It's really fun. It's actually one of the better games I've played in a long time in the ARPG series. So I really enjoyed that.
That's exciting. I might have to check that one out on Steam. It's only $20 too.
Yeah,
so
it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, maybe when I have some time. I feel like I never have time. This summer has been so crazy, but. Maybe when the fall and winter comes, when I'm stuck inside more, I'll be able to try that out. I'm sure it'll be on a Steam sale. It seems like one of those games that'll be $5 before you know it.
Yeah. But yeah, I played that, and I've been reviewing a couple of games this week that I can't talk about yet because I'm under embargo.
Okay,
but
good to know.
You should, Monday and Tuesday I'll have reviews out, so
great, awesome.
Check that out.
Yeah, so this week I kind of, like I said, I've been really busy, so I didn't really have a ton of game time this week. Just here and there, picking up games of Rocket League. It's a great game also
I wish
for
people would
when
stop
you're
talking
busy.
about that. Oh my god.
Oh, it's so good. Have you played it yet? Have you tried it?
Everyone talks about it all the time. So I get it, right? It's a car. You're in cars that kick around a football. I get it.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Have you tried it? Have you played it?
No, not yet.
Well, you got to try it. I'm telling you. If you try it next week and we come back in this podcast, you'll be a changed man. It's you have to try it out. The first game you play, it just immediately feels so good that it really clicks. And it's a great game also because they're 5-minute matches. They go pretty quickly. There's like a little bit of downtime when you're watching replays. It kind of sucks that you're forced to watch a replay after every goal. So in a higher scoring game, you're probably around for 10-15 minutes. But still, it's a great on-the-go game where you only have time to sit down for a match or two. And it's also the kind of game where it's like, all right, one more match, and then 2 hours later, you played 50 matches, and you're still playing. So it's really good in that way, and I think that it's a great game. So check that out, like I talked about last week. I'll probably be playing that for a long time. I think the community's been pretty good. It seems like it has a lot of steam from a lot of people, like you're saying. Everyone's talking about it constantly. Twitter and YouTube and Twitch all over the game, so check that out, guys. Let's move into some news here. There isn't really much to talk about. There's really scraping the bottom of the barrel for these stories here. Just quick mentions. Did you watch any Evo last week? The Evolution fighting game tournament thing in Vegas? No?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't keep up with.
Do you watch any esports? Are you an esports guy at all?
I don't like esports at all. I get it. I know that people like it. I'm not a person. I'd rather play something than watch it being played. Like I'm one of those people that, like, obviously the rare people that don't like Let's Plays and stuff. Because I know like, so many people do like watching other people play video games. I'm just not one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel I've never really gotten to fighting games. I never really gotten to the League of Legends or any of that stuff. Dota, I don't really watch that. I did watch some StarCraft competitively, so that was enjoyable in the time. I like the mind games of StarCraft, right. And it's kind of easier to see what's going on, like in a Dota or a League of Legends match. Like a team fight happens, and you have no idea who's winning or what's happening. It's just particle effects and lights, and that doesn't do it for me. But yeah, I didn't really watch Evo, but I put it in here because that was kind of the big thing everyone was talking about.
I always think that the only games that are really fun to watch for me personally are like something like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Like fighting games like that, and maybe like something like FIFA. That's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But like, I never enjoy watching first-person shooters like CS:GO or something like that. Or I don't like RTSs either. Like
even the crazier fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom. Like fun. I can't watch that. Someone playing that, it just like. It doesn't make sense. You can't process all that information in like the layperson's
to watch something like that than to watch like StarCraft. Like StarCraft was.
Yeah, I guess. So let's move on to the other event that's happening right now. Summer Games Done Quick. This is something that I really enjoy watching. It's happens twice a year. So they do Summer Games Done Quick in the summer and Awesome Games Done Quick usually in the winter around the Christmas New Year's time. Money goes to charity. They're raising money for Doctors Without Borders this summer. So go check them out. Donate if you can. It's a great cause, and it's really cool watching people break games in half. I don't love the pro gaming scene right now, but I absolutely adore how the speedrunning community works right now. There's so many great speedrunners out there, and a lot of them have great personalities, which I think really adds to it. When a speedrunner can talk about what's happening and be funny and charismatic while he's doing a speedrun, it's a sight to see.
Yeah,
I really recommend you checking it out. No, you're not.
I can't stream. I know. I tried. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like
you watch it?
I can't do it.
Yeah. Do you watch any speedrunning? Are you a speedrunning fan?
Not really. Like I appreciate it.
Right.
The difficulty of. Like, I appreciate streamers in general. Like, it's hard to play something and then concentrate on what's going on while managing a stream, monitoring chat, and being entertaining at the same time. I can't do that. I'll stick to YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I could ever do it too. I think there was like a week when I was like, oh man, I could totally do this. And then I picked a game. I forget what I even picked. And I was like, no, there's 0% chance I could ever be good at this. So it's fun to watch though. It's amazing to see some of the things that people figure out. Like you look at certain glitches and you're like, how on earth did anyone possibly figure that out? Like figuring out how to set variables in certain positions in memory so that it loads the wrong level and all of a sudden you warp to the end. It's crazy. So check out that. You'll see a link to that in the show notes. It's on Twitch. It'll be going all week, so that should be fun. Well, while we're talking about pro gaming, let's talk about ESL. ESL plans to crack down on PED use, and no, we're not talking about anabolic steroids. We are talking about drugs that increase your perceptions, such as Ritalin and the other big one. I can't think of it. I'm blanking on it, so I'm opening the story right here. They, you know what I'm talking about. It's,
I kind of you've made me blank as well now.
I know, right? What? How am I blanking on this?
Say
right
A
now?
Something.
Oh, Adderall. There we go. Wow, I feel really dumb right now. Yeah, so they're cracking down on the use of Ritalin and Adderall in their tournaments. They're planning random drug testing for an upcoming event in Cologne. This was apparently a very widespread thing that was happening. Lots of players were using performance-enhancing drugs before League of Legends tournaments.
I'd like to know how performance-enhancing they are.
Yeah,
really.
I know. Well, let's go some real talk here. From experience of a friend, I don't know how much Adderall really helps. Just saying, I was in college once, and like the people that did it, I don't know.
I can understand it might keep you awake if you're like, do you know what I mean? Like caffeine does, but does it really improve your reflex and response times? I don't think there's any evidence of that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, how much does it actually affect anything? Other
I don't know.
I'm awake.
Right. It's interesting, and then it leads to the fact, like, should ESL be policing this? Like, is it worth policing? I guess it's bad that people are using drugs illegally. Yeah, I guess. Like, I guess drugs are bad. I don't know. We're in a time where I don't even know if that's a statement that I should be saying. So
no. I just it's one of those things. Like, I don't understand the science behind it. Like, if it does give someone the edge, then yes, it shouldn't happen. But if it actually doesn't, and they're just doing it because they don't want the perception of that,
right? Or they think it helps.
And then again, if everyone's doing it, so what? Like, if everyone's doing it, then there's no problem, is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's like performance-enhancing drugs in Major League Baseball. Like, it was more fun to watch when everyone was jacked up on steroids.
I never understand why you need drugs in baseball. You don't do much. Like, it's not like performance-enhancing drugs in like the Olympics in the 400-meter races. Like, they don't do anything in baseball. They stand there and they go, "Oh, we'll not hit a few balls, and then we'll go to first base."
That your head is the size of like 4 bowling balls put together, and your biceps is like 90 inches around, like Mark McGwire.
Baseball is one of those sports that I really don't get. Like, I don't understand why it exists.
Yeah, we could talk for a while about that. I've some theories about that as well. But anyway, ESL drug testing. It's interesting and weird to hear performance-enhancing drugs and video games used in the same sentence.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I mean, I get it. If it's the case of it is creating an unfair advantage, then they've got to put a stop to it because, you know, I mean, fair enough. Adderall, like take Adderall for example, it might not do anything for one person, but for another person, it might give them the edge, I guess. So I guess you've got in any kind of competition, you've got to even the playing field, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
I guess
even if the drug doesn't actually do anything to improve your reflexes or anything like that, they've still got to say no because they have to have an even playing field.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Fair enough.
All right, let's move off of stuff we don't really know much about into something that I think we both like very much. Knights of the Old Republic #2 has received a large update more than 10 years after its release. This update fixes a bunch of the things. It adds Steam achievements. It fixes support for modern monitor resolution. There's some controller support added natively. They did a pretty good and thorough job of improving the playability of
that's cool.
Knights of the Old Republic 2. So kudos for Obsidian for doing that.
Because they put in the restored mod content as well, didn't they?
I heard that. It's not listed in the story. I had heard that in another source.
I think I saw that on Steam. That was cool.
And they also added in the Steam Workshop support too, so future mods can be integrated directly through Steam, which is a pretty neat.
Because I played through that restored content mod, and that was pretty cool. Like, it wasn't like an expansion or anything. It just like made sense. Makes the game make sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that game was a weird one, like compared to the first, and you could tell it was an Obsidian game because Obsidian always make crap sequels. They do. Don't get me wrong. Like
we've had this discussion before.
Yeah, like their latest game, Pillars of Eternity, which was their own IP, was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But like every sequel that they've done, it's just always just a little bit too out there for me. Like, and I remember because wasn't it infamous Knights of the Old Republic 2 for? They got rushed at the end, didn't they? They got rushed to put it out, and it was buggy,
they had
crap.
all that content. The Sith. Oh yes, it says here the Sith Lord mods is restored, and yes, all of that stuff was cut from the game, but all the assets and stuff were in there because they had to launch for Christmas.
I just thought they went a bit too far with the story, in that one personal thing, but because I prefer the first, like hands down, I prefer the first in terms of story. But
you prefer Fallout 3 too?
Yeah. So. I like the what are you gonna do? Like I'm an original kind of guy.
I mean, I wonder if this means that they're planning something for KOTOR 2, maybe a gold edition or something like that, or even an iOS port. I know they just did
what they've done here, especially with like the screen resolution stuff and control support. I would really like them to do that for the first.
Yeah, that would be amazing if they did it for more developers doing this would be great. I would love if we could get all these old games with native controller support and new resolutions, and you don't have to go searching through different mod
Knights of the Republic
files.
series is just one of those series out of all the games that get HD remakes. Those two are games that I really want HD remakes of. Mm-hmm. Like, can you imagine playing
together? That would be pretty sweet.
Knights of the Old Republic with the graphics of something like Force Unleashed?
Yeah,
that'd be phenomenal.
That would be cool. Oh man, now you're making me think about wanting Force Unleashed. I want a new Force Unleashed game.
I don't know.
Oh man,
that second game was a killer for me.
That first game though, that was a real neat game.
It was okay. I was like, oh okay.
Okay, I'll be honest. That wasn't a great game, but it was cool. They had some great ideas.
Game. The storyline, I was like, oh okay, all right. Yeah. You're playing with fire here, but I was like, okay, I'll let you have that. And then they went with the Force Unleashed here. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Goodbye.
You're not wrong. I'll tell you that much. Now let's talk about this other small story that I picked up, sort of on a similar line. Resident Evil 2 is being remade by fans in Unity Engine 4. It kind of has a look to it similar to the other newer Resident Evil games with the over-the-shoulder style of aiming, and it's a more modern take on the Resident Evil 2 game, which was pretty neat.
Which was 2? Was that Nemesis?
No, 3 was Nemesis. 2 was the one with the sewers and the giant
2
crocodile.
Was with Leon, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. 2 was with Leon.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really neat project. I always love to highlight awesome community-driven things. I'm waiting for Capcom to send them a letter asking for a couple $1 million or to stop work immediately. Yeah, that'll probably happen soon, but hopefully they get this game out and we can play it, because that would be neat. I like when fans do sweet things.
Capcom will do cease and desist straight away.
Yep. Alright, let's finish up the news segment here and talk about Fallout Shelter. Last week we discussed Fallout Shelter, how it made $5 million in the first 2 weeks it was released on iOS. It is now coming to Android and is getting a major content update. They're adding in new enemies, including rad moles and the Deathclaw enemies, which are kind of the signature enemy of the Fallout series. They're adding in new companion characters. I think they're adding in the robots from New Vegas.
Still the same boring
Those kind of robot dudes. But yeah, they're not adding any endgame content, it seems, which is what I would really be interested in. You gonna download it on your Android device now?
Don't have one.
Yeah, well, if you did, would you download this? Yeah,
I'm done. I'm over that now.
Yeah.
Fallout 4 now. Thanks.
Me too. If they added something where there was actual progression and endgame to it, I might be interested. But right now, it is a literal farming simulator, farming babies with
boring
people. Yeah, it's boring. All right, so to celebrate the 20th episode of the $20 or Less podcast, we have decided to highlight the top 20 games. Each of us is going to do 10 of our favorite games that are less than $20. We're sticking to PC here. We thought that would be the best way to do it. And we're just going to count down our favorite games that we'd recommend you try out. If you haven't, all of these are available right now. Manufacturer's retail price for $20 or less. Let's start off with you, Cosmic. What is your number 10 game you would recommend? Number 10. Number 10.
Mine is Metro Last Light. I love the Metro series, like Metro 2033. I mean, either one would be great because they're both great. But Last Light was, I think, the better of the two because it was just a bit tighter in gunplay and stuff. It's essentially like a post-apocalyptic kind of horror game. It's a first-person shooter, and it's just awesome. Like, it's an awesome game. Like, it will melt your PC if you try and play it on like ultra graphics. Like, it is a
one of those games.
It is a beast. It looks gorgeous. The lighting's awesome. But yeah, I mean, I would play either of them, either Metro 2033 or Metro Last Light. They're all set in Russia. And it's essentially like a post-apocalyptic setting whereby everyone lives in a sewer because nuclear bombs went off and stuff like that. And there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on. But they are fantastic first-person shooters. So
it's got kind of like a survival element too, right?
Yeah, like the survival, you've got to like trade in like ammo and different types of ammo and weapons and stuff. You can build your own weapons, and you've got to like the outside. Most of the time, you spend in the sewers because it's radiation free. But like you have to venture outside, and you've got to have like an air filter and stuff for your gas mask, and you've got to keep on top of your air filters because if you run out, then you'll die, or like if a mutant attacks you while you're outside and your mask will get smashed and stuff like that. It's all these crazy stuff going on. And there's also like the psychological horror element going on as well. Because there's these like mutants that like are awesome. So yeah, definitely go play. If you've never played Metro's awesome. Like, it's really, really good game.
Definitely not your COD style FPS though. Is there a multiplayer at all in the game? No,
it's
just single player experience.
It's a single player.
I commend them for that. You know, I prefer when developers come out now and like we're making a single player experience that's what we're focusing on.
It's very similar to something like Wolfenstein.
We don't need
like the New Order in that it's like a really tight, narratively driven single player experience. That's like it's a good first person shooter as well. It's not bad. I mean, it's one of the best in terms of like customization of options for PC. Like, for frame rate and stuff like that, and for your FOV and everything like that, it's one of the best there is still. So it's definitely, if you're an FPS fan, get that.
Alrighty. So my number 10 is going to be Super Meat Boy. This was one of my favorite games of 2012 or 11. I think it was 2011 actually. This game is great. It kind of, I don't want to say it spawned, but it definitely kicked back into gear the super hardcore platformer that's kind of gone to ridiculous levels nowadays with like I want to be the guy and that kind of stuff. But Super Meat Boy is a great challenge for your average gamer, which I think is really a really enjoyable experience. It's going to frustrate you. It's going to be annoying at points. You're going to want to throw your controller sometimes, but it's never too hard where you can't get through it with just simple trial and error if you need. So it's fun if you're into that sort of thing. Yes, you're gonna probably hate it at some points, but I definitely think you should check it out if you're into your regular old platformers.
Cool.
What do you got for number 9 here?
My number 9 is Darksiders. And Darksiders 1 or Darksiders 2, either or. The Darksiders series was produced by THQ, who are now gone. And
I like THQ. They did some cool
It's basically
stuff.
like an action-adventure, spectacle fighter, platformer kind of game. It's set in a kind of biblical apocalypse, whereby in the first game you play as War, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And essentially what's happened is that someone had put in motion the end of times, the apocalypse, before it was supposed to happen. And
who would do that?
And not everything was supposed to be as it was. Basically, it wasn't supposed to be like that. And so what essentially happened was the universe, mankind was wiped out. And what was left was the battling forces of the angels and the demons of hell. And in the middle of this is kind of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, who are supposed to almost basically enforce the galactic rules, I guess, the cosmos rules of like what everything is. And War essentially gets blamed for starting the apocalypse early, even though it wasn't. He was essentially framed. So it's a really story-driven game. That's like it's cool. Like he plays one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
There is some fantastic voice acting in that. And then you also have the second game where you play as Death. And that game, the second Darksiders, really improves upon the problems of the first in a massive, massive way. So it's worth playing both, to be honest. And then, thankfully, I believe the IP was picked up by Nordic. So hopefully we'll be seeing another Darksiders at some point.
Still no news on that, though. It's been a long time since they picked that IP up. You'd expect to hear something at this point. But it would be nice, because I didn't play the second one, but the first one is a fun game. I definitely listed it in my long list of games that I considered for my list here. There are a couple minor things that kind of hold it back for me. There are like time challenge rooms that you need to complete to progress that really annoyed me. But overall, fun experience. Has a little bit of the Legend of Zelda vibe to it, where you have dungeons and kind of a fairy analog. But
it's a unique IP that's got a really good story. That's what I liked about it.
Definitely. And the new IP-ness of it, it's obviously got a sequel now, but it was, in the time, it was really cool game coming out. So, let's move on to my number 9 here, and this is Spec Ops: The Line. This game is it's kind of like a deconstruction of what modern FPSs have become. If you're a fan of COD and Titanfall and any of the modern military or kind of postmodern military shooters here, this game, I think, is one you should try. It really plays on a bunch of different tropes that I don't want to give too much away here, but it really plays on a lot of tropes that games have taken for granted recently, and especially gamers. It takes, like, what does it mean? Like, what does player agency mean in video games? And it does it with a very competent shooter. Like, a lot of people talk about the story, and it was super solid. But the gameplay is also good. So if you're a FPS fan and looking for a little bit something more intellectual, this is one you should definitely be trying.
Cool. Number 8.
So what do you got? Number 8.
My choice for number 8 was Batman Arkham Asylum Game of the Year edition, because you can pick that up.
Good choice.
For under $20 now. I love Batman Arkham Asylum. I think it is the better of the series. A lot of people like Arkham City over Arkham Asylum, but I don't. I think Arkham Asylum is the better narrative, and I think it's got the storyline overall is better. I think that like Arkham City was a bit disjointed in a lot of it, and I think that if you really want to play a Batman game, Arkham Asylum is the one to play. With the Game of the Year edition, you get all the DLC as well, so that's pretty fun. But I thought, out of the entire Arkham series, which there's now 4 games,
Yeah,
The original Arkham Asylum.
No, five. Blackgate is also. Yeah.
But I think out of all of them, Arkham Asylum still remains the best. Yes, you don't have the open world, the scale of open world that Arkham City does, but I think that it is still, by and by, the best of the series, and the most enjoyable for Batman fans. So that's my number 8.
I haven't played City, but from what all I've heard is that there are 2 camps in the Arkham series. Like you said, there's one camp that likes City more, one camp that likes Asylum more. I personally really liked Asylum. I thought it was great. I thought the claustrophobic feel of being in Arkham Asylum, being in Arkham, really worked to the game's advantage. I think it really made you feel like Batman, like you were trapped in there with all the villains, and I like that game a lot. So good choice for number 8. My number 8 choice is a game I know you love, Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition. This game is wonderful. I wrote a blog about all the reasons why I love Dark Souls a while ago. Maybe I'll link to that in the show notes. But a game that really challenges you, kind of like Super Meat Boy, to get better. But whereas Super Meat Boy, I think, has gameplay that everyone is familiar with. I think everyone has years and years since they started playing Mario to refine their platforming skills. This kind of teaches you a new form of combat that hasn't really been done in gaming before this. I know there were a couple games out there that were similar, but I think Dark Souls really, it perfects the you need to learn or you're not going to progress, which is something that a lot of games have kind of gone the other way on. A lot of games are like, well, if you don't do so well, we'll give you power-ups, or maybe we'll make it easier, and, we just want you to see the content. Dark Souls says, no, you're not seeing the content unless you're good enough to see it. So I really respect this game. I think it's a game that changed my views on gaming a little bit. So if you haven't tried Dark Souls, it's not for everyone, but if you haven't tried it, it may be for you. And if it is, you're really missing out by not playing it. Number 7.
Mine is State of Decay. Because I hate zombie games and I hate survival zombie games. But State of Decay...
So you picked a survival... What?
State of Decay is really good.
What? Okay. How? What makes it better than all the other survival zombie games?
It's a hell of a lot of fun. That's why. I think that it's got a nice open world to it. The art style was really good. The story was okay, but it was a lot of fun. It made like the whole tediousness of resource gathering and kind of zombies have got. By the time State of Decay came out, we had so many zombie games like Left 4 Dead and everything like that I was kind of sick of seeing zombies. So when I remember first going to review State of Decay, that I went into it and I was actually blown away because he actually made zombies fun again. I liked the way that the whole thing had like hordes, zombie hordes roaming the streets, and you had to build. You got a base, and you could move locations and stuff, and you had to go out and resource. There was the whole community aspect of it, where you had to keep your community happy, and you had to, manage happiness and hunger and all that kind of thing. And then you're intertwined with that. You also had stories within that of like your community, like someone would get depressed or something like that, and like if you left that person who was depressed, they may go out and like kill themselves or like start shooting up something or let zombies in or something like that. It was really, really fun, and it just had, it kind of had that Grand Theft Auto gameplay a little bit, where it was like, the third person, you drive around, whatever. And the combat was very satisfying as well. Like you could just pick up weapons and rakes or an axe or something like that. And the actual melee combat side of it was very satisfying, and visually it was good. There was a lot to like about that. I really liked that. I really, really enjoyed that game, and I really don't like zombie games.
Yeah, for someone who I know hates those games so much, that really says something. This makes your top 10. So my number 7 is Hotline Miami. I consider putting 2 on here, but I think the original deserves the spot for sure. I think it has a little bit more of the claustrophobic feel. Everything is a little bit closer. The sequel, you happen to get shot off screen a lot. There's a little bit more focus on gunplay. where the first one, I think, focuses more on the melee combat, which is really the sweet spot of the game. If you've ever wanted to feel like you're on cocaine and you don't want to try cocaine, I suggest you try the Hotline Miami series. The music is just spot on, and the violence is up to 11. This is a fun romp when you want to just destroy things and you want to do it in video games. So check out Hotline Miami for that. What do we got for number 6?
Number 6, I chose XCOM, Enemy Unknown, because I love XCOM. I love tactical turn-based stuff with RPG elements and stuff, and I thought XCOM was a really, really fun game to play.
Right.
And I just, it was one of those games that's just really well made in every aspect of it. So, and it's one of those, you can get like 50, 60 hours gameplay out of it.
Yeah. Is the X-Pack packed in yet? Is there Game of the Year edition for XCOM yet, or is it just the original?
Just the original, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I played that game. I enjoyed it. Not my top 10, but definitely a fun game. My number 6 is a game that really kicked off. It really kickstarted and really kicked into high gear. I don't know why I'm going with a bunch of kicking metaphors here. Yeah, but it's Braid. Braid is a awesome puzzle platformer that really it's
kicking.
It deserves all the accolades that it received. Yeah. For the time, it was so out of left field. This crazy little game that spawned so many imitators. If you haven't played Braid yet, the ending to that game is just so like jaw-dropping and wonderful, and god damn it, he did a great job. And hopefully his new game, Witness or whatever, is gonna match up to the prowess that was Braid, but I don't see how it could, seeing how well received Braid was. So what do we got for number 5, Cosmic?
I got Dragon Age Origins. Because you can pick up like the game now for $120. Dragon Age is a BioWare game. I think it is the best Dragon Age in terms of story.
Okay.
I really like the last one, but obviously you can't get that for under $20. Dragon Age 2 was an absolute epic fail. But Dragon Age Origins was really, really fun. I really liked it. I liked the dark Baldur's Gate style atmosphere. And there's just a lot of content in that game. Like, it's got some really fantastic DLC. It's got great... I like the gameplay. It's more tactical than what it became. The original is more like turn-based tactical. You've got to think about plan. There's some really... It's tough as well. It's not an easy game. It's like you put that difficulty up and you're going to struggle with some of those bosses. I like the freedom. I like the storylines. It's a BioWare game. It's got all the, got a group of people and all different storylines, and the main storyline that it's a big world. And I just thought Dragon Age Origins it's one of those games that's just really, really good. It's got a lot of replayability, whereas the second one really didn't. You've got, like in Origins, you could create a dwarf, elf, rich, poor, didn't really matter. You could do all these things. And it all changed the story, and it all had an effect on the story, and the actual choices that you made. It was one of those BioWare games that was rare in the fact that they did what they said they were going to do, in that your choices did actually affect something at the end. Whereas in other games, they didn't. Mass Effect 3.
My number 5 is a different direction here. It's Team Fortress 2. This game has given me hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of hours of enjoyment. It's free. I wanted to get a free-to-play game up here so that anyone, even if you didn't have any money, could try something out. The hats and stuff, they've gone a little bit overboard with that sort of thing, but it's still fun at its core. Class-based shooter. Each class has a nice niche role. Each class does something interesting and different. And even if you were just starting out now, like, you may be overwhelmed by the sheer number of weapons that are available and sheer number of hats, for that matter. But overall, it's still a fun experience. Try Team Fortress 2. You probably have it on Steam already, so go download it. It's free.
Number 4.
What do we got?
I got Fallout 3. I love Fallout because it's Fallout.
Not New Vegas. You sure? I'll give you a chance to change your mind here.
Sure. No, I think Fallout 3 is great. I mean, it's a Bethesda game. I prefer it. Like I had like a debate with myself over this over Skyrim, and I don't like Skyrim. So
then what was the debate? You were like, I could put this game I hate on this game of list games.
I was like, looking for a game.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And I thought, if you've got two open world games, what's better? And I thought Fallout 3 is more better because I think it's got the better content. I think it's got the better DLC. And I think it's got the better storyline. Fallout 3 is a great game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's a ton of content to try out there. Not all of it's great, in my opinion, but there's a ton of stuff in that game. You can easily spend 200 hours, especially with the expansions in there, which are all relatively good. I think 4 out of the 5 expansions are pretty damn good. My number here we are. Number 4 game is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I do too. So let's talk about it later. Number 3. What do you got for number 3? Well, you'll see why I did that later, guys.
I got Darkest Dungeon. Now, Darkest Dungeon isn't actually out yet. It's in early access still.
Oh, really? It's still in early access?
But I love Darkest Dungeon. Darkest Dungeon is fantastic. Yeah. It is one of the best turn-based role-playing games I have played in a very long time. Like, I think it's the art style is fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic. The whole premise of, the psychological effects of dungeoneering is just phenomenal. It makes the game so much fun. It's tough. It's just a great game. Like, everyone should play it.
Made my short list, but unfortunately, there's only 10 spots that can make the top 10. Darkest Dungeon, every once in a while, there's those games that kind of breathe new life into a genre, and I think Darkest Dungeon definitely did that for the turn-based RPG. It added a bunch of interesting mechanics, not least of which being the whole insanity meter. That's
and the thing is, it keeps
wonderful...
it simple. It's not overly complicated in any aspect of it, but it's like, and it shows that a game doesn't need to be complex to be fun. Like, definitely, it's just a lot of simple mechanics put together with a great art style and a great premise, and then you've got a winner.
Yeah, and it's still developing. It's, like you said, in early access, so more content to come. And we all know how much you hate early access generally, so to recommend a game this highly, I think that says a lot. My number 3 is probably my favorite game of the Xbox 360 era, which is really my wheelhouse of college gaming. BioShock is an absolutely wonderful experience. It's super fun. The combat is tight. The story is good. The twist at the end, everyone still talks about. It's meme-worthy. So it's a fun game to play. Look at that. I would recommend each game in the series. I know a lot of people don't like 2. I personally enjoyed 2.
I don't know what people say they don't like 2.
Yeah.
Do you know which one I don't like? Infinite.
I liked Infinite too. I think it's the weakest of the series. A lot of people would say it's the best of the series.
Well, they don't know. They don't. What do they know?
Yeah, the original BioShock though is a wonderful game that you should definitely pick up and give a shot. So what do you got for number 2?
I got Brothers.
Didn't we talk about that? Oh wait, we didn't talk about that. So Brothers, a game I love, a game you love. Why is it number 2 on your list?
We did a podcast on this, haven't we? So
we did,
Brothers
actually. You're right.
One of those games that's just rare. I mean, it's got fantastic story, fantastic gameplay that's mixed as video games should be. The controls are gelled with the mechanics that are gelled with the story, and it combines to create something that's very unique. It's one of those rare games that actually makes me have an emotional reaction, which is a rare thing because I'm British and I'm cold.
And it's neat how it tells a story in a very unique way.
Because it's not traditional. It's one of those games that tells a story through the gameplay rather than showing you cutscenes after cutscenes every 5 minutes.
And there's no game that has done mechanics as a storytelling method better than. No, you are not restarting PC. Do not do that. But yes, it's just a great way of telling a story through the actual gameplay of having your two sons on two different joysticks. It's something that's weird and feels weird when you first do it, but it really works. So I would definitely recommend Brothers, as would you. It's number 4 on my list and number 2 on Cosmic's list. Only game that's on both of our lists. So if you're going to try out one of these games, make it Brothers. Man, and there's a podcast you can go listen where we talk more about it. So number 2 on my list is Deus Ex. The original Deus Ex still holds up to this day. I will defend it to the death. It is a wonderful FPS RPG, the best of the genre, a transcendent game, wonderful storytelling. I can't give this enough accolades. Go play Deus Ex. What are you doing with a PC if you haven't tried it? You can run it on a toaster these days, too.
Yeah. They really need to give that game like a HD remake.
Yeah, even if they added in some high-res textures, I'm sure there is a high-res texture mod out there, but something official would be nice. But that's the only thing that would hold, I think, any person these days from enjoying it, is that you possibly could see the visuals and be like, I can't deal with these sharp edges and low poly counts. But if you can get past that, the gameplay is spot on. You're not going to find a better FPS RPG, possibly ever. This game is that good. So what do you got for number 1?
Number 1, I have Mountain Blade Warband. Which, I love Mountain Blade. Mountain Blade's great. I don't think there's a better sandbox RPG out there that you can play. Especially, and the reason I chose this for the, I guess, breadth of gameplay that you can have. Because you have the core game that's, it's a sandbox RPG. You go through, you build up an army. The combat is like engaging. You've got to like move your mouse to swing the swords and stuff like that. It's actually fun. You've got the RPGness of progressing your character and your army up and leveling up and getting new equipment and doing quests and all that kind of thing. And then you've got the sandbox of being able to go where you want, do what you want. You want to attack a town. If you want to pillage and kill villagers, do that, But then you've also got the sheer amount of mods on Steam from the Steam Workshop that is phenomenal. Like, they changed the game. You can play Lord of the Rings Mountain Blade. You can play Game of Thrones Mountain Blade. You can play Think of Something, and there's probably a mod on Steam that you can play.
Pretty cool.
Your the game that you want. Like, I've always wanted like a really cool Lord of the Rings game to play where it's just like open world sandbox. You can do that with Mountain Blade. Like, anything like that's possible with Mountain Blade. It's just one of those games that's just phenomenal, and you can easily put like 300-400 hours into that and still want more. And I think that mixed with, the combat's not perfect, but it is a lot of fun. Like, being able to like kind of swing your mouse and to do the swords and stuff like that, and being able to have like ride into battle with like 100 other NPC characters behind you against another 100 NPC characters in front of you is really fun. So that's the reason why it's my number 1. It's cheap, and you get a lot of content for that money. So that's why it's my number 1.
That's great. It's awesome that we live in a time where this can happen, where players can. We were talking about it before with Resident Evil, with that fan remake, that fans and players can really go in there and make the game they want. Mods are amazing things, and hopefully the tools only get better.
Yeah,
for modders. Certain series like the Elder Scrolls series has immeasurably been improved by the modding scene, which is wonderful.
Yeah, this is my favorite. Like, on Mountain Blade Warband's store page, this sums the game up for me, right? Which is one of a user review, which just says this, right? I raided the shores of England. I mustered an army of bandits. I slaughtered thousands of peasants. I partook in the lynching of a French officer. I stabbed Napoleon to death with a shank. I clubbed an Austrian to death. I joined a 10-man band. I stormed the Red Keep. I declared war on a monk. I was trampled to death with a herd of goats. I killed orcs while being dressed as a gorilla. I rammed a ship into a rock, and I threw the holy hand grenade. Like, And that guy who posted that
that's
has
great.
975.9 hours on record of playing Mountain Blade.
Holy jeez.
That's it. And like, if you go down the page on the
man.
reviews, like each review's got like 300, 400 plus hours on that game. Like,
that's great. That's great.
You want content for your money?
Sounds awesome.
Mountain Blade's the way to go.
All right, definitely. So my number one game is on the opposite side of the spectrum. This is a very short game, but if we're talking about value, I think this is right up there. The original Portal is an absolutely wonderful experience. I think that Portal was a game that happened at a transformative time, kind of like Braid, where it made the puzzle, like the first-person puzzle game, really popular, and it does it better than any game has ever done it since then. The whole narrator experience was wonderful, where you're the voiceless narrative, where you are the voiceless character being narrated to and at by an omniscient robot. It's wonderful. It's funny. Great gameplay. GLaDOS is great, and it has a nice little song over the credits. That
So why did you choose that over Portal 2?
So I think Portal 2, while they do some good things, like I like the story, I think that the puzzles are overall not as good. They weren't as enjoyable. I think some of them weren't as intuitive, where you kind of were just shooting around randomly at points, it seemed. Especially, I think the worst part about Portal 2 is when you break out of the puzzles and you're kind of going around the back lot of Aperture Science, where you're like exploring the underworld of it. Whereas in the original, it's mostly in the pods, the chambers, and then when you break out, it's like a interesting and neat little play on what you've been doing. But on Portal 2, it's most of the game, so I don't think it held up as well, and it wasn't as fun. Like, it wasn't as directed. I think that the best part of the Portal experience is when you're in the nice Portal shells and doing your self-contained puzzles. So I could see an argument for Portal 2, and some people may say that the story is better. Yeah, I think both are commendable. Both are available for under $20. So if you'd like to check that out, you can pick up both. Why not? They're both great games. So that concludes our list, our top 20 games less than $20. If you'd like to check out any of these games, you should go ahead and check the show notes, where I'll have a link, hopefully, to each one of the games and each of our lists. If you'd like to tell us how dumb we are, and possibly like to win a free game in the process, you can go to our Steam group. You should join our Steam group, and then you can post in our discussion thread. The latest discussion thread is your top 10 games under $20, where you can discuss our lists as well as post your lists. And if you post a list here, you will be entered for a chance to win a copy of any game on our list. So if you would like to play Mountain Blade Warband or Braid, all you have to do is give us a top 10 list of your favorite games under $20, and you'll be entered for a chance to win. So that about wraps up this week's show. Let's go ahead and finish up here. We got a couple clerical things to go for. Darth Venkman, congratulations. You've won a copy of Amber Throne or Rocket League. I know you were excited about that on Twitter, so congratulations, you won. Go ahead and PM me on 20orLESS podcast, and we will get you a copy of the game. Next week, I already discussed the giveaway, so go ahead and post your top 10 favorite PC games. It has to be I guess, screw it. Doesn't have to be PC. Just your top 10 favorite games, whatever. Just tell me what you like under $20 in our Steam group. You can get to the show a couple ways. You can tweet at us, 20orLESS podcast. You can also email us, 20orLESSpodcast@gmail.com. You can give us suggestions for future games you'd like to see covered, as well as join our Steam group. And while you're at it, you should subscribe on iTunes and leave us a nice comment and rating while you're there. Cosmic, where can people find you?
You can find me at youtube.com/thecosmicengine. I will have many reviews coming up, which you should watch, because, why not?
Yeah, and if you would like to reach me, you can find me at GTeeg, that's GTEEG. You can also email me, gaddockteeg@gaddockgaming.com. Got any videos coming out this week? Oh, you talked about them. You can't.
A review coming out tomorrow,
talk about it.
And then I have one on Tuesday, and then I'll probably have one on Friday too.
Is there anything you could talk about?
I can tell you what they are.
Hint?
I can't tell you anything about them though. I've got IC coming up tomorrow, which is a post-apocalyptic survival RPG.
Okay.
And then on Tuesday I have Kern or Keen or KYN. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Which is a RPG, which is that's fun. That one, I like that one. And then on Friday I'll have. I'm doing RPGs a lot. Another RPG on Friday, so it'll be fun.
That's funny because last week I said that there weren't any good RPGs coming out this summer, so maybe we'll three in a row here. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Thank you guys very much for listening and/or watching, depending on how you are consuming us right now. We shall see you next time.